I think buyers don't give themselves the opportunities to sit down and speak with a great local agent to understand what the process is. I think there's a lot of noise in the media, interest rates, housing market, and you go into analysis paralysis.
Mhm.
And you want to maybe buying a home is your long-term goal, but you don't know how to get there. But it's scary to figure out how to get there because of all of this negative information that you're hearing out there. So I think the number one thing I would say for buyers is they're not sitting down with a real estate professional.
All right.
Hi, everybody. I am Julia Wixted, a real estate agent here in Silicon Valley, ready to chop it up with my fellow agent, Vin.
What's up, guys? Yeah. Yeah, I'm Vin. So also another local real estate agent. And yeah, I'm excited to start this podcast, the episode or like this thing with you, Julia.
Yeah, me too. I mean, you and I have been talking about doing this for a long time too. And I think because of our age bracket and where we practice real estate, we are positioned uniquely to be able to bring some thoughtful and authentic insight to the housing market here in our area.
Yeah, and be real too, Julia, because we were just talking about how we hate the other real estate content that's out there that's maybe not so easy to understand or straightforward or just real,
Right,
right?
right. We're the intention is not to say it's a great time to buy real estate. It's always a great time to buy real estate because the truth of the matter is it's not always the best time to buy real estate, right, Vin?
Yeah, yeah, it's not. I always, this is my favorite word to say with people or like clients, but I always like to say, it depends. And
Well, and that is the truth of the matter, right?
depends. Yeah, yeah. It's not so black and white. So,
It's not. Especially with everything that's gone on with like interest rates and property appreciation. I feel like people get kind of like lost in like with blinders on when it comes to the news that's out there in the media about it's a bad time, it's a good time. It's like, no, that's all noise. What time
right?
is it for you? Yeah, because it's
Exactly.
situation specific, right?
Yep, totally, totally. Yeah, it's like you should buy a house, but if you got no money in the bank, then
Yeah, if you're gonna be financially strapped every month
right,
on your new mortgage, then it's probably not an ideal for you.
right.
An ideal time for you to buy real estate, but that doesn't mean that it can't be in the future, right? Or that you can't work towards that goal, and that's key.
Exactly, exactly. So that's exactly why we wanted to do this podcast together, so we can like get this information out there to people, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe you
yeah.
can't do 20%, but you can do 10%, or
You could
something
do
like that.
10%.
Yeah,
And there's
yeah.
people who've done it with 5%. I did it I did 100% loan to value program when I bought my first property in Santa Clara. So
Did you
there you
really?
go. Yeah, I did. I've talked about this a few times on some of my social media, but my husband and I actually used a financing program through Navy Federal. My dad was in the Navy for a
Oh,
number of years
nice.
and he retired. Yeah, and we were like many millennials trying to figure out where are we going to put down roots. We want to put down roots here, but is it realistic? Because at the time, even back then, the market felt really tough on first time home buyers. But we did our research, we found out what we didn't know, and yeah, there was a really great program that we were able to utilize
In
to get
Navy
into our first
Federal?
home.
So,
Yeah,
so actually, I have a few questions about that. I kind of feel like I heard the story, but I don't know it in detail. Is
yeah.
Navy Federal the company I always see on TV? Like, they're doing those commercials, like, uh, yeah, when you're with us, your family, so it doesn't matter. Like,
Yeah.
is it kind of like that, or like,
Yeah, yeah, they do. You probably see their commercials on TV. And the really great thing about it is that, and what a lot of people don't know, and we definitely didn't know either, is that those military benefits extend to children. They can extend to grandchildren as well. So it doesn't have to be you that was necessarily in the armed forces that
dang, nice,
that qualifies you to be able to use these benefits, right? So um again, finding out what you don't know, right? Because
right?
We had no idea. But yeah,
Was it
that's the commercials you see. Navy
okay? So
Federal.
it's the same company. That's awesome. Wait,
Yeah.
was it a VA loan that you guys got?
No, so and here's what's also interesting. No, it was not a VA loan. It was 100% uh loan to value financing. You did have to meet certain parameters, right? So there was credit requirements, income requirements, and whatnot. I mean, there's requirements on any type of mortgage that
Right,
you're going to go into, right? So as
right,
long as you fell within that criteria, you were eligible based upon if you had a family member that was in the armed forces, then you could qualify for this mortgage. It was not a VA loan too, which was nice because there was less restrictions on it.
right, right.
And we actually used it to purchase a new build. So it wasn't a resale home, it was a new build. And that was a whole nother process within itself because as you know, Vin, when you go and you buy a home or you go to buy a home from a builder, they want you to use their lender. Like,
Totally.
so that was a whole nother process as well.
Damn. I feel like we can definitely do a deep dive on that for another episode. But that's really interesting because, yeah, like the stuff you don't know, that's crazy. I didn't even know that. uh,
Hmm.
so that's really interesting. Um,
Yeah.
but I guess moving on, what did you want to get into today?
I don't know. We were talking about a lot of stuff when we were first talking about doing this podcast. Let me think. What would you say, Vin, is the most let's see here. What's the one thing about the real estate market that most people get wrong in the current market that we're in today? Would you
Ooh,
say from what you've seen?
dang. That because that's a hard question because so many people get so many things wrong.
I know I'm asking for this big loaded question. I'm sorry, my bad.
It's like asking me what's my favorite song or something,
What's
but
your favorite meme?
yeah, exactly. There's too many. Um, but you know what? I'll tell you one thing that I just went through recently with clients that I think I could speak to. So
Hmm.
I got this listing that I'm helping my clients with to sell, and
Hmm.
the one of the biggest things when you're getting a property ready to sell is what the hell are you gonna price it at?
Yeah.
Right? And I think when I was doing the research on our pricing and how to price it, what I found doing the research was all these other homes nearby us that were also for sale, but
Hmm.
selling or taking like 2, 3, even 6 months to sell and staying on the market. And as a realtor, you already know this, but it's all about, well, where is it priced? Because it's either there's two things wrong with it most of the time when it doesn't sell.
Hmm.
It's either price or there's something really wrong with it. But even at that
Hmm.
point, it's like, well, if there's something wrong with it, it just needs the right price, right?
Right. Everything sells. Everything sells,
Everything
like they
sells.
said. Yep.
So, long story short, we were able to price the home and to be able to do these other little things to get it sold, but we only took 7 days to sell. And I think
That's
a lot.
amazing. Congratulations to you
Thank
too.
you, thank you. And I
Yeah.
was super nervous about it because of all these other homes that were on the market for a while near us.
Hmm.
And I think a big thing was pricing because um, doing the research, these homes they look like it was gonna sell maybe somewhere around like the mid 900s, 950 or something like that.
Hmm.
And my clients were like, okay, well let's list it for 949
Hmm.
because they don't want to lose out on any money pricing it low or getting low ball offers.
Hmm.
But it took them a couple of days between us talking back and forth to finally like be convinced to like list it at 899, which was what I was recommending,
Hmm.
and which worked out really great because in the end, once they listed at 899, we were able to get enough interest and other people to come in close to 950. We didn't get like written offers. We only got one written offer, but how we were able to get that written offer was because I was getting a bunch of phone calls from agents who were interested, and I was asking them like, well, what are your clients thinking of submitting an offer at? And everyone was saying around like 900 or 950. And
Okay.
me talking to another client or another potential buyer with an agent who was really interested in the property, just letting them know like, well, yeah, we've got these people and these are kind of the ranges everybody's talking about. Made them go in at made them go in and be aggressive and go in at
Hmm.
a full 1 million. So
Wow.
50K above what we were thinking of what everybody else was going to submit.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I think definitely because if we priced it at that 950 originally, if we did it that way, we probably wouldn't have gotten as much interest the first weekend like we did.
Hmm.
And I wouldn't have been able to tell interested buyers like, yeah, we got a bunch of interest and, these are all the kind of the ranges we're thinking about. Um, so all that to say was, I think pricing had a lot to do with it,
For
including
sure.
the little things we did to market the property and make it look nice. But they wouldn't have seen all of that unless we priced it the right way. So yeah, sellers
Yeah.
pricing the wrong way is what I'm trying to say.
I think and pricing is so interesting to me from a psychological standpoint, and that's either for, but that goes for both seller and buyer. I think on the seller end, it's really hard, or it can be a challenge for them to understand that the pricing it's a marketing tactic, right? To get as many feet through the door, because as agents and real estate professionals, we know that the more people we bring through that door, the higher likelihood we're going to bring in multiple offers, which is amazing for the seller. But the
Yeah,
seller gets really stuck on, this is what I want, and they get really scared. And it's very interesting because you think these are Silicon Valley property owners, like they're sitting on a property that has appreciated, they got equity, they got XYZ, they're in a great position, but they're actually very nervous. Like
yeah,
just as the buyers walk in and when they find a home that they love and they think it's going to be competitive, they're extremely nervous. Well, the sellers are nervous too.
yeah,
And so that's great that you were able to get them to understand what the strategy is.
yeah,
Um, I do. I mean, I've had a conversation like that too with my sellers. Just getting them to understand too that you set the marketing price strategically and you retain control over this whole process, right? You can accept an offer. What do we always say? You don't have to accept an offer. You have multiple things that you can do. You can accept it, you can counter, you can walk away. The
yeah,
power is still with you, right?
yeah.
At the end of the day. So helping them understand that can be challenging, but it can work out really well, as it did for your clients in this situation, right? I mean, look at they're in contract at an amazing price.
Yeah, totally, totally. Um, I was gonna ask you, what do you normally say to a seller client of yours that is like afraid of listing the home lower than it should be? Like, what do you say to the sellers like that?
So a lot of it kind of just goes back to what we just talked about.
Yeah,
Um, I do my best. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not my house. I cannot decide for them. They have to decide what they want to list the property at. But it is my job as their agent to let them know what is going to benefit them the most in terms of a marketing strategy and how pricing plays into that and how important it is. How we bring people through the door, which leads to a higher likelihood of multiple offers. Once you get the offers, you don't have to accept any offer that you don't want to. And the truth of the matter is um you could very well list the property, like let's say in this case at 950, and still get a low a low ball offer, right? I mean, you could still get somebody who comes and said, well, I'll give you 850,000.
yeah.
I mean, so pricing it at that price point doesn't necessarily mean that you're still not going to get low ball offers. And we know, right, then as agents, I mean, there's always going to be a bottom
There's
pile
always,
that come in offer wise, right? Everyone's
yeah,
always looking to get a deal.
yeah,
So just setting the scene and letting sellers know that it's a possibility they could see that number, but they still have all the control,
yeah,
right?
yeah. No,
Uh,
it's like you always have to put yourself into the mind of a buyer, and it's like, well, if I'm buying something, am I gonna try to pay top dollar or am I gonna try to get it for as cheap as I can get, right? So
hmm
just
Yeah,
because
that's true.
just because you're a seller and you get a low ball offer doesn't mean that it's end all be all, because it's just buyers being buyers, right?
It's human nature,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
It's human nature. And part of it too is that on at least on the buyer side is, I mean, if hopefully they're working with a reputable agent who is up to date on what the market trends are, what our homes in that area is selling for.
Yeah.
Um, but it could be the fact that maybe they're not. I mean, let's be honest, there's a lot of real estate agents out there, right? There's a lot of agents that don't do this full time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of agents that aren't necessarily keeping up to date with statistics from a hyper local standpoint. And that can be challenging for their clients to really understand pricing and strategy when they go to offer on a home,
Yeah.
right? Which
Yeah.
could lead to the low ball offer and whatnot. So I think education is important for setting the seller's expectation and just letting them know, hey, it's still your property. You have all the control, right?
Yeah.
So
I think so. That's we really went deep into the sellers' mistakes or what sellers are doing wrong. But what would
we
you say
did.
something like for a buyer and what you're seeing what buyers are getting wrong these days?
I mean, my gosh, if the sellers are getting, a bunch of different things you know, wrong. Buyers do it too. I mean, if it's hard if you're not practicing real estate day in and day out on either side of it, the buyer seller side, to fully understand what is the clearest path to where you want to go goal wise, right? Whether you're selling a house or buying a house.
Yeah.
For buyers, what I would say is, and this is probably more so just because it's near and dear to my heart, is I think buyers don't give themselves the opportunities to sit down and speak with a great local agent to understand what the process is. I think there's a lot of noise in the media, interest rates, housing market, and you go into analysis paralysis. And you want to, maybe buying a home is your long-term goal, but you don't know how to get there, but it's scary to figure out how to get there because of all of this negative information that you're hearing out there. So I think the number one thing I would say for buyers is they're not sitting down with a real estate professional so they can walk them through, this is what the process is. These are your different options. Here's something to know about. Like, for example, the Navy federal program, right? Maybe something that could be utilized to purchase a home. So that way they can make actionable steps to buying here in this area because it is possible. It's just you might need a different strategy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, what
Uh,
about you, Vin?
um, I mean that's a pretty good one. That's like a pretty like all-encompassing one. Like, yeah, you should, if you're gonna jump into this, you should talk to a professional instead of just like doom scrolling on Zillow all the time, or
100%.
like checking out open houses and uh, letting letting yourself be exposed to the wolves, you know? Because
Mm-hmm.
like what I mean by that is you go to these open houses and yeah, obviously there's an agent there who's gonna help you. I host open houses all the time,
Yeah,
but
same.
you're kind of like in defense mode at that point versus um, picking out some potential agents that you really like and
Mm-hmm.
sitting down and talking with them first. So that way you know what you're getting yourself into. And then when you go into these open houses, you're a little bit more prepared. Whoever the open house agent is, they're focused on number one, selling that house, and number two, trying to convert you as a client or get you to
Mm-hmm.
sell that house.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, yeah, I can definitely agree to your sentiment about, yeah, sitting down and talking with somebody. I think there's so many mistakes, but just one to put out there uh, is that for buyers, I see that they spend way too much money. Meaning, what I mean by that is like a lot of these people will get a pre-approval, and sometimes they'll get a pre-approval for what they're comfortable with. And I see some people getting a pre-approval for the max and then making an offer for the max,
Mm-hmm.
and then kind of leaving them a little bit exposed. So uh, sometimes I think to myself, you're buying this house because you can afford it. Sure, that's great, but also, oops, sorry, I'm getting a phone call. But I guess, do you need it? is what I'm saying. So I know
Hmm.
you don't really see this too much. I don't really see it that often. It's more like people are pretty conservative on their end as far as how much they're willing to spend, especially because it's so expensive in the Bay Area. But I guess what I'm
Hmm.
saying is that if you're like a first time home buyer and you get pre-approved for 1 million and you want a single family home, like do you really need it? Maybe you can just get a 700K condo first because you don't really need it. You don't need a single family
Hmm.
home yet. I don't know. This is
Hmm.
kind of like what I'm thinking, and it's not really planned or
Yeah.
like yeah, it's just kind of what popped up in my head. You don't really need that
Yeah.
big house and that big payment if you don't really want to pay for it. So yeah,
Or could you be using, like you said, if that's not necessarily something that you need based upon your lifestyle, maybe you could be using that extra money to go invest it, right? And grow
yeah,
your money that way instead. So
totally.
yeah, I mean, I think it all goes back to kind of the same underlying, like step number one, be prepared and
Yeah,
understand the
yep,
options and how you can leverage this purchase so you can make some money on it.
yeah,
Um, I also think too, what people kind of always forget about, and I find this fascinating, is that home ownership offers a unique opportunity to hedge against rising cost of living. Rents are going up, as we know, right? I remember when I used to rent, me and my husband, we were young at the time too, so we'd be moving every year. We'd be moving all over town trying to get the good deal.
yeah.
It was
Whatever's
so
the cheapest, right?
awful. Whatever's
Yeah,
the cheapest. And I hated it too, because so my husband, he collects shoes. Like he loves
shoe
shoes.
collector. Got
Oh
you.
my God, Halloween, and we were young kids. Like we didn't have money to pay movers, so here we are with all these boxes. Every year, once a year, it's moving day. Um, but the
And
rent
shoes could
rent
have
would
been for
always.
rent too. Like, those shoes would have paid for rent. I mean,
You know what? Fun fact, and my husband Eric will tell you this. He actually sold off like 75% of his collection when we were trying to pay off debt to get
there
into
you
that
go,
position to be able to buy a house.
dude. Those
Uh,
shoes are money.
They, they are. I can't even. At first, I was like, he got more shoes than me. Like, what, what is going on? But it ended up working out. You're right. They can appreciate and whatnot. But rent would grow up every year. Like, would go up every year. And sometimes it would go up more than others. But what I'm trying to get at is that once you buy a property, and if you go into a mortgage that fits what your long-term goals are for that property and whatnot, you have your fixed monthly living expense now, right? And depending on what kind of loan product you went into, even if it's an adjustable rate mortgage or it's a 30-year fixed or even this 50-year fix that we're hearing about, you know that your housing expense is fixed for a period of time that is longer than 1 year. So while everybody's rent is going up, while groceries are getting more expensive, gas is getting more expensive, you can better calculate your financial position because you know your biggest expense, which is your housing expense, is fixed at a certain amount, right? And there's so much uh, less stress on your plate and trying to figure out your finances and what are you going to do? This went up, and all these other things. So that's another thing I would say that people forget about home ownership, help to provide security in your living expenses in the form of a hedge against a rise in cost of living.
Totally, totally. Everything's getting hell expensive these days. So,
So expensive. Like it's ridiculous. I mean, and then you start talking about all these other things like you want to go on a trip, that's expensive. You got kids in daycare, don't get me started on that. That's a whole nother mortgage. It's a lot, right?
no,
And you can't
yeah,
control that stuff. Like we have no control over how much more travel is going to cost, over how much childcare is going to go up. But what you can control is trying to fix your monthly living expense. And you can do that through home ownership.
yeah, I totally agree. And I think that's a great stamp on this episode. What do you think, Julia? Um,
Yeah, I think so.
yeah,
I think we talked about some good stuff. You got anything else you want to kind of cover, or we'll talk about that next session?
yeah, maybe you mentioned about the 50-year mortgage. And so I definitely think we could talk a little bit more about that. It's kind of
It's
a
gonna
hot
be a
topic.
loaded one.
Yep,
I feel
yep,
like everybody's talking about it. Y'all seen the
yep.
memes out there?
So we'll definitely dive into that because is it really a good thing or is it kind of a scam, right? Is kind of the way I
Right.
would see it. So
Yeah.
we can talk about that and let the people know what's the best way around that. So
Yeah.
yeah, great first episode. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and yeah, we're gonna get better as we go. So
We definitely are going to get better as we go. And then, so I'm on Instagram, Facebook for all my older millennials. You can find me on Facebook too. uh, kind of on TikTok, LinkedIn. Then I think you're more active probably on some of the other platforms, but you're
yeah,
definitely
yeah.
around too.
Yep, we'll have all that. We'll have our handles somewhere. You'll be able to see it. But yeah, I think I'm excited to do more of this and shoot the shit with you and talk about some more stuff. So
Yes, likewise.
okay, cool. Sounds good. Thanks for watching, everybody.
All right, till next time.